There is an old proverb you have likely heard 100 times. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds complete. But there is a missing third line to this proverb, a line that completely unravels our modern understanding of motivation and human nature. Give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. But give a man a desire to eat, and he will invent his own ways to fish. We live in an era exhausted by hustle culture and overstimulation, and in response, a new, equally dangerous extreme has emerged: the cult of letting go. Modern pop spirituality tells you that the root of all your suffering is your desire. You are told to detach, to want nothing, to become a perfectly smooth, frictionless stone in the river of life. But when you actually try to strip away all your desires, you don't achieve enlightenment. You achieve apathy. You achieve a profound, suffocating emptiness. Because here is the truth that the self-help gurus refuse to admit. When we cannot let go of a relationship, a career goal, or a need for control, it is not simply because we are stubborn or unevolved. It is because that attachment is bearing the weight of a fundamental human meaning. We hold on to a failing relationship because it carries our need for love. We obsess over an achievement because it is scaffolding our fragile sense of self-worth. When you try to forcibly suppress these desires, you are not curing the disease. You are just suffocating the patient. Suppressing desire does not make you a master of your mind. It makes you an empty vessel, and an empty vessel is easily hijacked. To understand why killing your desire is a fatal mistake, we must look at the machinery inside your skull. For years, science communicators have simplified dopamine, labeling it the pleasure chemical. But neuroscientists like Dr. Anna Lemke have revealed a much darker, much more complex reality. Dopamine is not the reward. Dopamine is the anticipation of the reward. It is the neurochemical engine of wanting. It is the raw biological force that makes you willing to move, to strive, to endure pain in exchange for a future reality. Without dopamine, you do not become a serene Buddha. You become clinically depressed. You become paralyzed. But human biology operates on a delicate, terrifying mechanism, the pleasure-pain seesaw. When you experience a spike in dopamine, when you endlessly scroll short-form videos, consume high-sugar foods, or chase the cheap synthetic validation of social media, the brain reacts. It attempts to restore balance, known as homeostasis. To counter the flood of cheap pleasure, the brain pushes down on the pain side of the seesaw. It builds tolerance. The baseline drops. Suddenly, the things that used to bring you joy feel completely hollow. You need a stronger stimulus, a harder hit, just to feel normal. You fall into a cycle where you are relentlessly chasing a ghost. You are wanting more, but enjoying everything less. You are running on a treadmill over an abyss, wondering why you feel so profoundly empty despite being constantly overstimulated. This is the exact phenomenon that ancient philosophers observed thousands of years before the discovery of neurotransmitters. They recognized that when desire is blind, when it is attached to endless consumption, it becomes a cage. But they also knew something that we have conveniently forgotten. They knew that the engine is not the problem, the destination is. In the West, we often misunderstand Eastern philosophy, particularly Buddhism. We equate the Buddhist concept of desire purely with greed or craving, what is known as lobha. And yes, lobha is the blind grasping that leads directly to suffering. But in the ancient psychological system known as Yogachara, there is another word, Chanda. Chanda is translated as wholesome desire or the intention to act. It is listed not as a poison, but as one of the essential mental factors required for focus, wisdom, and liberation. Think about the profound implication of this. The desire to help someone in pain is Chanda. The desire to seek the truth, to break free from your own ignorance, to build a life of meaning, these are all desires. Without them, you would never take a single step forward. There is a profound line in a classical Buddhist sutra that shatters the modern Zen illusion. First, hook them with desire, then lead them into the wisdom of the Buddha. Shen Yi Yu Gou Qian, Hao Ling Ru Fo Zhi. Do you see the brilliance of this psychology? The ancient masters did not tell you to rip the engine out of your car. They told you that the engine is incredibly powerful and that you have simply been driving it into a brick wall. Desire is not your enemy. Desire is an absolutely neutral, terrifyingly potent force of nature. It is the gravity that holds human civilization together. The question is never whether you should have desires. The question is whether you are the master of your desires or their slave. Are you being pushed by the blind cravings manufactured by algorithms and consumerism, or are you actively weaponizing your desire to propel yourself toward a higher state of being? So, how do we stop suppressing our nature and start mastering it? How do we turn the toxic dopamine loop into a directed laser of Chanda? It requires a psychological operation consisting of 3 distinct protocols. Protocol 1. Acknowledge. Stop hiding behind the mask of false detachment. When you feel the burning need for validation, for success, for control, do not look away. Do not pretend you are above it. If you are deeply lonely, admit that you desire connection. If you feel powerless, admit that you desire agency. You cannot tame a beast if you refuse to look it in the eyes. Honesty is the most brutal and the most necessary form of self-respect. Protocol 2. Discern. Once you drag the desire into the light, you must interrogate it. Ask yourself, is this a genuine need, or is it a phantom born from comparison and scarcity? When you want to buy that status symbol, when you want to win an argument that doesn't matter, what is the actual void you are trying to fill? Are you desiring the thing itself, or are you desiring the temporary relief from your own anxiety? This is the moment of separation. This is where you identify whether you are dealing with a parasite that will drain you or a genuine hunger that will grow you. Protocol 3. Transmute. This is the alchemy. You take the raw kinetic energy of your desire and you fundamentally change its vector. You shift the momentum from extracting to generating. If you have a desperate craving for external approval, do not try to crush it, transmute it. Turn that desire to be seen into a fierce dedication to build competence, to create something so undeniably valuable that the world cannot ignore it. If you are consumed by the desire for success, shift the target. Stop desiring the possession of victory and start desiring the process of mastering your craft. You take the very same dopamine, the very same neurochemical fire, and instead of letting it burn your house down, you put it in the furnace. You let it power the entire structure. This is not suppression. This is radical, highly conscious utilization. When the direction changes, desire is no longer a shackle. It becomes fuel. You cannot escape desire. You were born into what the ancients called the realm of desire. It is the atmosphere you breathe. To deny it is to deny your own biology, your own humanity. The people who tell you to want nothing are usually the ones who have given up on the terrifying responsibility of wanting something meaningful. Apathy is a coward's imitation of peace. True change, true mastery, and true spiritual evolution do not come from castrating your willpower. They come from purifying it, from letting your desires become so clear, so sharp, and so aligned with truth that they cut through the illusions of the modern world like a scalpel. So I return to the proverb, give a man a desire and he will figure out how to fish. The ultimate goal of this channel, of philosophy, of any serious psychological inquiry, is not to make you docile. It is to help you locate the correct inner drive, to ensure that you are not being dragged through life by manufactured cravings, but that you are moving forward, armed with a conscious, weaponized desire to live a life of absolute freedom and depth. I have a question for you, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself before you answer it. Look past the cheap dopamine. Look past the things you've been programmed to want by society. What is the one true, unspoken desire burning inside you right now? The one that, if you actually harnessed it, would change the trajectory of your entire life? Don't suppress it. Name it. Write it in the comments below. Take ownership of it. Because the moment you name your engine is the moment you can finally put your hands on the steering wheel. I am at Mind Boundaries, and I will see you at the edge of the next truth.